Thank you for joining Havis's virtual trade show to learn more about our updated innovative mobile solutions for the rear section of the 2020 Ford Police Interceptor Utility vehicle. My name is Sarah Meyer and I am the marketing manager here at Havis. I will be your host for the Havis virtual trade show series. We are excited to showcase Havis products and solutions that increase the productivity, safety, and comfort of mobile workers. I am first going to quickly review some housekeeping rules before we get started. First, for the duration of the show, all attendees' microphones will be placed on mute to ensure a positive experience for all of our attendees. Second, we have reserved time at the end of the show for Q&A. We request that all questions be typed into the chat box found on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Please note that Zoom offers two different viewing options, gallery and speaker. We recommend setting your view to the speaker view, which can be found at the top right-hand corner. This will provide you with the optimal view of both the presenter and the presentation. Lastly, Havis is recording all segments of the show for future reference. The link to the recording will be provided to all attendees shortly after the show. Now I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Chris Nonak, who is our primary engineer for vehicle 3D scanning here at Havis for the last 4 years. He will be giving you a walkthrough of the 2020 Ford Police Interceptor Utility vehicle design. Chris, I'll let you take it from here.
Thanks. So what you're seeing on my screen right now is a scan of the back of a 2020 Ford Interceptor Utility, and it has a CAD model of our TTP 1201, the taller trunk tray option with a TTP 4 under tray that you'll see in a minute. So basically, when we get a new vehicle, the engineers will go out and we'll take the vehicle apart, and we're looking for the best factory mounting points that we can use, so we don't have to ask you to cut or drill things, and also to understand kind of how the vehicle goes together so that when we design something for it, it's easy to install and the order of operations makes sense. And we'll basically take our 3D scanner, which is a big carbon fiber arm with a laser on the end of it, and we'll go over the whole vehicle in layers to basically understand and capture how it goes together. So what you're looking at here is the back end of the vehicle. Inside you can see all the trim, that sort of stuff. Up here with these sort of X's on them, that's the second row seat backs. And then we take that, we process it into what you're seeing here, and we use the scan to make everything fit as closely as possible, as well as work around anything that we found while we were taking the vehicle apart. So for example, on the 2020 Interceptor Utility, in the floor right around here, there's a factory power takeoff point. So we give you an access panel for that. And on the other side, there's an optional CENTCOM unit. If you get certain option packages, that will be in the car. So we have an access panel for that too. Then we're also looking at things like range of motion. So if I open this, as it opens, the corners get really close to the tailgate opening. So little things like just tapering those in so that the tray can open a little bit further. That allows you to do things like take the spare tire out, which is another thing that we check when we're designing these. And we're also always looking at wire routing and ventilation, that sort of thing, what you can mount to it. Another neat thing we designed into this one is we didn't want it to rest on the spare tire if you have the optional TTP4 and you open it. So we have little rubber bumpers down in the corners. You can just sort of see them peeking out there so that it has something to rest on, doesn't hit the tire if you have exposed screws from whatever you have mounted to this, that sort of thing. And then once we have a design that we're happy with, we'll send that out to our shop. We'll prototype it on the same machines that build our production stuff. And we'll take that prototype and we'll work with technical support to install it for the first time, make any little tweaks that it might need. We'll mount electronics, storage boxes, that kind of thing to it to make sure that all of that works as intended. And when we have something we're happy with, we'll write the installation instructions, take all the product photos, and it'll go on sale and you can buy it. And in a minute here, you'll actually see one of these on video rather than just a CAD model. Just a reminder, there's a question and answer session at the end. So if you have questions, go ahead and type them into the chat.
Thanks, Chris. Now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Jeff Tripp, who is our Fleet Product Manager. Jeff is going to review the features and benefits for the rear section of the 2020 Ford Police Interceptor Utility Vehicle. Take it away, Jeff.
Thanks, Sarah. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Tripp, Product Manager here at Havis. I'm going to walk through some of the brand new solutions we have for this new 2020 Interceptor Utility. First off, I'll talk about the trunk trays and cargo plates. What you see here is a TTP 1201. This is what Chris was just showing us in the CAD models. If you're familiar with the previous generation Interceptor Utility from 2013 to 19, and you saw the TTP 200 that we offered for that, you would know that it was flush mounted to the floor. So you're probably questioning why this one is raised. And the reason is because with the new design vehicle, Ford actually raised the location of where the spare tire is mounted. So in order to compensate for that height adjustment, we actually had to raise this up to accommodate the electronics equipment that you would potentially be mounting in here. So we actually do offer two different versions of this. This is the 1201 raised version, which you can also use in conjunction with the TTP4 electronics tray underneath that. We also have a flush mounted version, the TTP 1200. That one only provides about 3 inches of space between the spare tire and the top tray. So that one you could mount things underneath the tray. It would just be a limited amount of space. You could also use that for mounting storage on top or not mounting at all. This one would be best used for mounting electronics, and I'll show you the tray in just a moment underneath it. I'll walk through some of the features of this product. First of all, we have dual locking latches on each side. You could use these handles to lift it up, but we incorporated some handles right in the face. We also incorporated a lot of ventilation here. We understand that people will use this for mounting electronics underneath. We want to make sure that there's plenty of adequate airflow. You raise it up. Now there are two different options for the lift struts that we offer, 80-pound and 200-pound lift struts. This one here has 200-pound lift struts because we're mounting a bunch of electronics as well as storage on top. We want to make sure that it has adequate strength to raise it and hold it in place, whereas the 80-pound lift struts would be best suited for if you were just mounting lighter electronics and no storage to it. Below it, we have the optional TTP4 electronics tray. This is actually 40% larger than the predecessor, so you have more space in here for mounting equipment. In the back, we have plenty of room for airflow, routing wires, as well as mounting fans on either side. And as Chris mentioned, this tray will rest on bumpers that'll protect, give a little bit of space between the spare tire and the tray to protect it from any puncture should any screws run through there. Next up, I'll move over to this storage drawer. This is representative of our new modular storage line. So unlike a lot of other storage products that are in the market that you have to special order and wait a long time to get, the whole objective here is that this product is easy to stock, easy to ship, and easy to configure in the vehicle. It has a common footprint, 40 inches wide by 20 inches deep. We've introduced a couple different heights of drawers right out of the gate. We have a 5.5-inch deep drawer that is 8 inches high overall. And then we have a 9.5-inch deep drawer, and that is 12 inches high overall. These are real easy to stack. You can configure it however you choose. We offer a variety of accessories and toppers. This here is just an open topper with some slots. So you can use this for ratchet straps or tie downs to keep your any loose items from scattering on the top. We do have a hinged and latching lockable topper as well. You could mount electronics in there or any number of things. Or we just have a simple close off. Basically, because this is a modular setup, it's really just an open top on this. And the whole idea is you stack up the boxes until you get to the desired height, and then you close it off with your desired topper. You know, we took a lot of consideration into how these products will be used for a variety of use cases. So first of all, we have heavy duty sliders that will latch in place. This drawer won't slide even if the vehicle were parked on a hill until these are released again. In the back of the drawers, you'll notice we have plenty of ventilation and we have knockout holes on throughout. So you have an easy way to route your wiring or again, mount some fans in here. The same holds true for that latching lid topper. That also has ventilation and knockouts in it as well, because you know we understand that people may use that for mounting electronics as well. There are a variety of ways to mount these storage drawers as well. You can see this one is mounted directly to the TTP 1201. Both of the TTPs actually have the hole pattern punched in this top lid, and all you do is you simply line up the holes with your drawer and feed 4 bolts in from the bottom. Couldn't be easier. There are actually 3 different locations. This one is on the middle location right now. There's one more behind it, one ahead of it, and you can position that for your desired location in the vehicle so it doesn't interfere with your partitions, so it balances right based on the weight, all of that. I should note as well, we do have a variety of adapter plates to close off, or adapter panels to close off the gap between the TTP and a variety of different partitions that are available in the market. The other way that you can mount these storage drawers is with stationary mounts. It's our SBX 5000 series. We have several different styles that will mount using our K9 partitions. We have, typically we would favor mounting it as low in the vehicle and as forward in that rear cargo area as possible. And what that does is it will maximize your ability to stack up the drawers to your desired height. We also offer for the Interceptor Utility, the SBX 5006. And what that'll do is raise the drawer up 12.5 inches off the floor. It'll position it approximately at this height. But what that does is it gives you a bunch of space underneath it for storing larger items such as traffic cones, shields, bicycles, brooms, whatever you might have. You could slide it right underneath the drawers. We do offer these drawers currently with a variety of different lock styles. You could get it with no lock, a medium duty keyed lock, which is what we're picturing right here. We also do have a couple heavy duty drawers. They are reinforced to really slow down any sort of prying attempts. We have heavy duty keyed T-handle lock and a heavy duty push button combination lock currently available. And we are continuing to expand this line. The last product I want to talk about today is a brand new product for us called Cargo Barrier. It's the CBR-Inot-1. And what that does is it's a large aluminum panel that will fill up this space back here. It locks in using OE mount points. Again, we always want to use OE mount points where possible to prevent any sort of drilling or permanent alteration of the vehicle. That holds true of all of these products that I'm speaking about. So this one will mount to your these rear mount positions. It'll also mount to the partition, and it contours to the interior trim of the vehicle. So it creates a solid mounting location, but also a protected trunk area. The reason we developed this is we heard that a lot of officers prefer not to use rear window guards or bars because it limits their visibility. If you use the cargo barrier, now you have the option to not use window guards or bars, preserving your visibility, but also securing any items back here, effectively creating a secure trunk area that nobody can get into. We will have a question and answer session at the end of this. As a reminder, feel free to put any of your questions in the text box on the right-hand side, and we'll get to those at the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Next up is our technical specialist, Dave Filion, who will be sharing some key tips and tricks with you. Take it away, Dave.
Thanks, Sarah. My name is Dave Filion. I'm one of the technical specialists here at Havis. kind of going over a little bit tip tricks and to kind of go into a little more detail some of the trunk or some of the features we have for the rear of the Interceptor Utility that Jeff and Chris had covered. Kind of first things we're going to start with is basic tips and tricks. All of our TTP 1201, 1200, and our SPX 5000 line pretty much all share one common mounting base, we'll call it. And it's kind of on this slide here on the left. And I want to point this out because if this base, when it's installed, if your installer tightens this thing down all the way before he gets everything lined up, he might have some issues with alignment. So if you get a call from one of your resellers, your upfitters, saying, hey, none of this stuff's lining up, Havis doesn't know what they're doing, more than likely is they had this over tightened before they actually had everything lined up, which could cause it to, not be where it not be squared. So a simple solution, just keep that bolt there loose, keep these two nuts a little bit loose until you get your TTP or your SPX 5000 dropped onto this. You can see it bolts onto the 4 studs here, same as on the other side. Get your nuts started, then you can easily get these 3 mounting points snugged up and makes everybody's life a lot easier. Another feature I wanted to talk about that some people may not know exists on our TTP 1200 and 1201 is a prop rod we integrated in off the rear mounting feet. This normally rests right here in this area, and it allows a little bit of extra peace of mind and security when this TTP is lifted. If you're accessing the electronic, if you're accessing the spare, whatever you need to be back there for, you can prop this up. It kind of drops into a little detent that sits in there, raises and lowers in that way, and just make sure you have that extra added peace of mind that there's no way this lid is going to come down on you when you're in this area working. This complements the 200-pound shocks that also will keep it up pretty well, just to give it 100% good peace of mind. Next thing we want to cover is for TTP Inot 4 alignment pretty much. When this part is put on, there's 4 brackets that are mounted, 2 in the back and then 2 that get installed up here. And they have slots when they're added on to the underside of the 1201. So they have a lot of adjustment up and down, forward and back. So you mainly just want to make sure your installer is putting these things on snug, but not overly tightened, so that until you can get this closed, get all 4 points latched, and then you can tighten everything up. And that'll verify this opens and closes smoothly and everything latches properly. You don't have to worry about anything hanging up. Another cool feature I wanted to point out with our TTP Inot 4 is because of the fact this can be added on at any time after the install, you can wire up all of your electronics and pre-wire everything on these trays first. If you're doing a large fleet rollout, 10, 15, 50, 100, you can line all of these trays up, get everything wired and drilled and prepped on these trays, slide everything in, add it on, and saves a lot of time and backache on the installer leaning over the trunk of the vehicle trying to wire. One of the things we definitely want to keep in mind is wire management when adding in these TTP Inot 4 trays. There's a lot of equipment that gets mounted on here. You have your radios, your siren light controllers, computers, power supplies, you name it, it's going on this tray. So we wanted to make sure there was maximum amount of space back here to allow the wiring to come in. So you can see a large cutout here. It's about the largest we could possibly make it without affecting the structure of it. Another tip I wanted to point out, if you're doing the K9 F28XL or K9 F28 PT, your installer is going to be putting in this rear mounting bracket that's seen right here and a little bit over here. Now, our products are designed to work with our other products as best we possibly can. So to make sure that this happens, this rear mounting bracket has slots in it for these carriage bolts to go through and for a little bit of wiggle room for the OEM mounting points here. So you want to make sure that the bracket is pushed as far forward towards the front of the vehicle on the slots as possible. That'll allow this bracket to drop in, the TTP 1200, 1201, and get close to it and allow it to clear and have everything work together and work well. Another thing we wanted to point out here is we had incorporated fan cutouts on both sides of our trunk top plates to allow extra ventilation. It's an optional 4-inch fan. You see the mounting holes here, and that can be added at any time. This goes a little bit off what Chris was mentioning, that we did do the cutouts here. to make sure that you could access the factory installed Ford CENCOM or Wayland CENCOM, as well as the power junctions on the passenger side. Easily removable panels can be removed at any time. 4 machine screws, take on, take off right at will. We also try to make sure that these butted up as close as possible to aftermarket rear partitions. This is set up for a ProGuard rear partition. We also have one for Satina, and we also have trays that'll go to the back of our kennel units to seal off that area to make sure nothing falls behind there. This is a little bit of a visual representation of our cargo barrier that Jeff had mentioned. Especially with what's going on in the world today, now more than ever, you want to make sure the vehicles are secure back here, and even if the vehicle is not, make sure that no one can access the cargo. So you know these hatches usually cannot be opened without a key or with the security override in the front. So the windows are broken in the back. This will guarantee that nothing is accessed down here. It is easily installed, as Jeff mentioned, goes right to factory mounting points, as well as mounting off the partition, so it can hold a significant amount of weight on top of this if stuff's piled on top of it while loading. As you can see here, we are showing our TTP 1200 underneath. That is the optimal mounting setup for this vehicle if using the cargo barrier. Now, if a situation arises where you have the TTP 1201 and the -4, and the customer also has the cargo barrier, the 1201 will come in contact with this under normal operation. There is a location on the side of the 1201 for the gas shock to be relocated to make it so it does not come in contact with this. Doesn't raise it as high, and it makes getting the spare tire out a little tricky, but if you're ever backed into a corner and that's the equipment they have and there's no other way around it, there is a way to relocate the shock. A little bit of visual representation here of some of the different SBX 5000 series mounts we have. We've got 4 different options for back here. This one right here on the left is for F28 PT and F28 XL canine inserts. This raises it a bit off the floor here, allows multiple box mounting while still giving a little bit of visibility out the rear window, depending on the size boxes you put in. The 5007 kit is a new release. This goes with our F28-1, which is our shorter canine, standard size. And this puts it pretty close to the floor to allow maximum boxes to be stacked here in the back. It's a 10-inch box here, and you see it's not even above the midway point in the rear wall of the canine. You can easily put another 6-inch box on here and still have a good bit of visibility out your rear window. Over here, we're going to see the XPS 5006 that Jeff had mentioned. Now, this is a great solution for the customer that only wants to put 1 box in the back. This is set up as a weapon storage. It's got our heavy-duty Medico lock in it, and that's all they're using it for. And they still wanted to make sure there's plenty of room underneath to pile up all their gear. As you can see, this doesn't interfere with the rear floor section. It's still easily removable to full access to spare tire, and gives you a lot of additional storage. On the right is the SBX 5004. This puts it about 4 inches up off the deck. This is optimal for if you're stacking multiple boxes in the back and don't have to worry about having as long of equipment going in the back. Again, this allows the rear floor section to be easily removable for accessing the spare tire. And the install is pretty good. Next thing up, there's a lot of customers that have been using our SBX 101 box for years. What they're used to is what they're familiar with using. They're not ready to switch over to the SBX 1000 series yet. We do have mounts available for that too. You can see here on the left, this is set up with a Satina rear partition. It's a simple tray that bolts to the floor underneath the SBX 101, similar to the mounting plate used in the other 5000 series kits. This is designed to work with Satina and ProGuard. It can work fully independent, or you can even use the mounting brackets that come, the L brackets that come with the 101, and add a little bit of extra support right to the top of the partition if you choose. And the last thing was just a little bit more of a close-up of what Jeff was talking about. You can always just put the SBX 1000 series box directly on top of the TTP. There are 3 sets of holes already pre-punched in it, so you have a lot of mounting options depending on the size of your box, the partition you're using, canine, whatever your setup may be. We try to give you a mounting option to accommodate that. The one here is set up with the canine F28 PT and the 6-inch box with the topper here goes in the middle set of holes. This will allow this TTP to flip open and not come in contact with the rear of the canine, while still allowing you some access here in the rear, not overwhelming all of your space. That's all I have. I think we're going to bounce back to Danielle and see if any questions came in.
Thanks, Steve. Let's take a look to see what questions did come in. All right, Jeff, you ready? Perfect. Question 1, will you offer a whiteboard option for the SBX?
Yes, good question. We will be offering a whiteboard as well as continuing to expand the line with additional accessories. You know, we're working with our customer distributors, resellers, and end users to gather data of what the market needs, and are continuing to expand this line over time.
Great, thank you. Here you go. Will you have additional lock options for the SBX?
Yeah, similar story there. We're researching additional lock options, trying to understand what the market needs, what the different use cases would be for these drawers. You know, when we first introduced them to market, we came out with the no lock, the medium duty keyed lock, and the heavy duty keyed lock, and the market reacted, and there were a lot of customers who said, hey, we need this push button combination lock as well. So we turned around and brought that to market as quickly as we could. We're continuing to research and gather feedback from customers on what they need.
Thank you. Will you, sorry about that. Let me read this correctly. Will elevated storage box mounts work with TTP?
Good question. I've heard this one a couple times now. As of today, the TTP and stationary storage boxes, storage box mounts, do not work together. They want to occupy the same space. We mount both of these to the rear X brace in the vehicle. Another thing is that this cargo plate would articulate up into the same vertical space that would be occupied by the storage drawer. It is a question we've heard a couple times. We're exploring some options to try to determine if we can make that work. But currently, they're two completely different products. You could use either the cargo plate with a storage box mount, storage drawer mounted to that, or use a stationary mount for the storage drawers, but they wouldn't work together.
Okay, great. Here's another one. Do you have window guard, window bars available?
We do. For the 2020 Interceptor Utility, we have two different varieties. So we offer window guards as well as window bars. We have two-piece kits for the two rear doors, and then we have three-piece kits for this rear cargo area, which includes the two side windows and the tailgate window in the kit. Great.
These are all the questions that we have time to answer today. If your question was not answered during today's show, we plan to address all the questions in a follow-up email. We would like to leave you today with some key takeaways. The TTP cargo plates. Two heights to adjust different mounting needs. We have TTP 1200, it's flush mount to the floor, best for top mounting. TTP 1201 is raised for additional mounting space above the spare tire. Then we have the TTP-4. It's equipment mounting tray for use with the TTP 1201. There's 80-pound or 200-pound lift strut options and filler panels for different partition configurations. Then we have the SBX, the modular storage drawers. A single footprint for easy stacking. Multiple size lock and topper options are available. Additional accessories are also available. Then we have the CBR, the cargo barrier. It creates a secure rear storage area, eliminates the need for rear guards bars, which improves vision. Currently on your screen are some of our key resources: the Havis website, the weekly newsletters, and our social media channels, hashtags, and handles to follow, along with a few of the upcoming trade shows where you can see some of these products in a 2020 Ford Interceptor Utility. Remember to contact your regional sales manager, inside sales representative, or independent sales rep for additional needs or requests. Please keep an eye out in your email for the link to this recording. Again, thank you for attending today's virtual trade show.